we're not saying that do this, do that. We're not saying be like me. We're saying let's talk about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's all just kind of focus on him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So let's go into the story. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was coming to the Eid prayer, and on his way to the Eid prayer, a lot of the men, they had their children's on their shoulders. They're holding their children on the way there. And the Prophet ﷺ noticed a child that was not coming. And he was kind of crying. He was sad. He was kind of sitting on the side of the road, right? So the Prophet ﷺ, so beloved SalAllahu Alaih, he stops what he's doing and he stops walking and he goes over to the child and he asks the child, Assalamu alaikum, why aren't you coming to the Eid prayer? And the child, he's a young boy. He says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm not going because my father died. My father died and I'm sad. I don't have a father to put me on their shoulder. Look at all the other kids. They have a dad that puts them on the shoulder. But I don't have any dad to put me on the shoulder, so I'm not going. Right? And we all, as dads, we kind of know that stubborn attitude our kids give us sometimes, right? So the Prophet ﷺ smiling, imagine, right? He tells the child, I'm going to be like your father today. And the child's like shocked, right? This is the messenger of Allah ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ picks the child up and he puts him on the shoulder, ﷺ, and he walks with the child on the shoulder, ﷺ, to the Eid prayer. And you can imagine how happy that kid must have been, right? Yes, his father had passed away, but the messenger of Allah ﷺ showed love and concern for this little child, right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Prophet ﷺ, when he would come back from a journey, when he would come back in Medina to the masjid, he started doing this one practice where he would line up all the kids and then he would go and stand on the other side and he would say, the first kid to catch me wins, right? And all the kids, they would come and rush and they'd catch him. And it became so much of a habit that when the Prophet ﷺ would come, he wouldn't even say anything. He would just look at the kids and smile. They'd all line up. Imagine all these boys and girls and all these little kids lining up, right? And the Prophet ﷺ just looks at them and he says, go or whatever, right? Bismillah. And all the kids are rushing. And the Prophet ﷺ is like, come. Whoever catches me. And then the kids come and they jump on the Prophet ﷺ, right? And they jump on the Prophet ﷺ. You can imagine they're smiling and laughing. And look at the way the Prophet ﷺ was, man, in the masjid. Can you imagine like an imam or a sheikh doing that these days? Like the Prophet ﷺ was like that with kids, right? With kids, right? Many times in our masjids these days, we're like, tell the kids to be quiet, no running, shh, quiet. The Prophet ﷺ, he the first thing he did when he saw these kids was he lined them up and they did a race. And he didn't just say that. He said, whoever catches me, the first person to catch me first, I'm going to give them a gift. That's so awesome. Like we have such an awesome Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Now, I'll end with this story. This is one of my favorite stories. We know how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with children. We know how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with adults, right? Very often, very little do we hear about how was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with teenagers, and how was the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with teenage girls. Right? If I asked you, like, how many of us actually know a story of how the Prophet ﷺ was with teenage girls? So this is one of my favorite stories. So the Prophet ﷺ is coming back from a journey. He's coming back on a beast, right? Perhaps a horse or a camel. And as he's coming, all these kids are kind of lining up. They're seeing him. They're saying salams and stuff. And there's a girl, probably like a preteen girl. She hasn't really hit puberty or anything. She's kind of like a young girl, but almost there, right? Like preteen. Maybe she's 11 years old. I don't know. She bumps her friend, right? Elbows her friend, and she's like, "I dare you to ask the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam if you could ride with him on his horse." And she's, typical teenage fashion, right? Like, okay, right? So she just, blurts out like, "Ya Rasulullah, can I jump on the horse with you?" And the Prophet ﷺ, as he's coming, he hears her, and he comes over, and he's smiling, right? And he stops, and he tells her, "Salaam alaikum, hop on," right? And now the girl's like, oh my God, like it's actually going down, right? She looks at her friend's looking at her like, it's all bad. Like, you got to go now. The Prophet was actually, you better get on, right? So now this girl's like, oh my God, right? So she goes and she gets on. She's kind of nervous and embarrassed. She can't believe this is going down. So she gets on and she's riding right behind the Messenger of Allah on the same beast, right? The same horse or whatever that was. So they're going. Now, she's pretty happy, excited. This is a pretty cool opportunity, right? As she's going, she has to go. She gets the urge, like she's got to go, right? And you're not like in a car, you're not like, you're behind the Messenger of Allah on the same beast, right? Now, the Prophet, he has a miracle. He could see behind him just as clearly as he could see in front of him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he goes and he notices this is going on, and she has an accident right there. And he notices it. And it wasn't just an accident. She actually, that was her first menstruation cycle. It just occurred like right there, right? Like the most embarrassing moment ever. So the Prophet, he just reaches in and he gets a cloth and he gives it to her. And he says that, don't worry, it's all good, He tells her, like, don't worry, here's the cloth. And he explains to her, just takes this cloth and dip it in salt or water and you could clean yourself, right? He doesn't make it awkward or anything, right? And then, look at this, it's the wisdom, right? He knows this is an embarrassing moment. So what does he do? He turns it into the best moment. He reaches in his pocket and he takes out jewelry, right? And he gives her this jewelry as a gift, right? As a gift. Imagine you just made the craziest mistake of your life and you're getting a gift, right? So she gets this gift and she's so happy. She can't believe it, right? She got this gift of jewelry and she said that, this was the best, it was the most embarrassing moment, but it turned into the best moment of her entire life, right? SalAllahu Alaih wasallam. That's how he was. That's how he was with kids, with children. He was approachable, smiling. The Sahaba said, whenever we looked at him, he was smiling with us, smiling, right? When he was speaking, he was smiling, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we'll end on that, inshallah. Glimpses of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We hope you join us regularly every week, inshallah, just to hear a little bit, just a little glimpse of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so we can increase our love. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jazakallah khairan. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu